over 2,200 criminal trespass arrests. Again, this is only taking place in the Del Rio sector. Migrant apprehensions and referrals, over 165,000 migrant apprehension and referrals. Again, this is in combination with DPS, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and Texas Military Department. Vehicle pursuits, over 1,000 vehicle pursuits. Narcotics seizures, marijuana, over 13,000 pounds of marijuana has been seized since the start of Operation Lone Star. Cocaine seizures, 2,429 pounds. Methamphetamine seizures, right now we're at right over 1,000 pounds of methamphetamine. Heroin, 37 pounds. Fentanyl, 157 pounds during the operation. Currency seizures, over $7 million of currency has been seized during Operation Lone Star. And as we talk about outside of the area of interest, this is still related to border nexus, any type of border criminal activity that's taking place along the border and other parts of within the state. Marijuana, over 9,000 pounds. Cocaine, over 800 pounds of cocaine. Methamphetamine, over 10,000 pounds. Heroin, over approximately 119 pounds. Fentanyl, 712 pounds. And currency, over $15 million of currency. Now, again, this is happening within the state of Texas, which has ties to criminal activity, which has a border nexus. Now we're going to talk about some significant events that have taken place within the past 2 weeks during Operation Lone Star. December 1st, in Starr County, a DPS trooper attempted to stop a vehicle. Of course, the driver refused to stop, and as the vehicle was driving, you can see in the video there's illegal immigrants that are exiting the vehicle while the vehicle is in motion. The driver continued fleeing from law enforcement, and as you can see there, crashed through a barrier at the port of entry there in Starr County and fled into Mexico. Hours later, that same driver came back into the U.S. It was a female driver. She did admit to being the driver to that particular incident right there, that she was smuggling illegal immigrants across, and she was placed under arrest by DPS. She did have previous criminal charges for smuggling, also for operating a stash house, and multiple charges for evading arrest. She was on supervisory release for harboring illegal immigrants as well. So she did have a history being involved in criminal activity. November 30th, DPS troopers and our CID special agents responded to a stash house in Webb County. As a result, they were able to apprehend 53 migrants, as well as 4 ounces of marijuana was seized inside the residence. All the migrants were referred to U.S. Border Patrol. Kinney County, this is in the Del Rio sector. November 28th, DPS troopers stopped a U-Haul truck. Two drivers, actually one driver, one male passenger. During the interview, it was discovered that the driver and the passenger were smuggling 12 migrants in the back of the cargo area of the U-Haul truck. Both driver and passenger were confirmed members of Crips from Oklahoma. As you can see there, the pictures that show where the migrants were being smuggled through. November 26th, the day after Thanksgiving, here in Hidalgo County, this occurred in La Jolla. DPS trooper attempted to stop a Ford pickup truck who was suspected of smuggling illegal immigrants from a stash house. Once the driver refused to stop and evaded from law enforcement, due to the reckless driving of the driver, the excessive speed, the driver rolled the vehicle over, and as a result of that, 2 migrants were killed as a result of that crash. 11 migrants were transported to the hospital. The driver was charged with human smuggling and evading arrest. And just one thing I want to touch on this particular case, the driver had previously been deported under Title 42 this year and was deported back to Mexico. He came back into the U.S. for the same purpose, to smuggle migrants across, and again, he was arrested. So he had previous history of being deported and for smuggling. November 24th, Zavala County. DPS troopers were involved in a vehicle pursuit. As you can see there, the driver struck one of the DPS patrol cars trying to flee from law enforcement. As a result of that, 5 migrants were apprehended and referred to U.S. Border Patrol. So this goes to show you some of the desperation and tactics from these human smugglers as they try to flee from law enforcement. November 23rd, Edwards County, DPS trooper attempted to stop a vehicle, white Ford Expedition, which led to a pursuit. The driver then bailed out, entered a residence, broke into a residence, assaulted the resident owner, and took her vehicle and fled from the location. This is still an ongoing investigation. We're trying to identify the driver and also where this driver could be and his whereabouts. As a result of that, 5 migrants were apprehended. Again, as we talk about the desperation and the tactics that these smugglers are using, in this particular case, actually broke into a residence, assaulted the resident owner, and took her vehicle. November 19th, this is our second incident that we've been able to apprehend a human smuggler that's bringing illegal immigrants across on rafts. And of course, it's a big collaboration with our partners, with the Texas Military Department, who's able to see these events take place. And with the assistance from them as well, we're able to apprehend these smugglers that are coming across. Again, this was a human smuggler that was bringing illegal immigrants across on rafts. He was responsible for smuggling 79 migrants across the Rio Grande River. This occurred in Starr County. And of course, with the collaboration of DPS and Texas National Guard, we're able to apprehend and arrest this human smuggler. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Major Michael Perry from the Texas Military Department, who's going to talk about their efforts and what they've been doing during Operation Lone Star in the past 2 weeks.
Thank you, Lieutenant Oliveras. Now, on behalf of Brigadier General Eulis, Texas Military Department Border Commander, we just want to give you a quick update over the past 2 weeks, which of course included a holiday. So although operations went on, I do want to mention the 2 events that we had for the holiday of Thanksgiving. Some of you attended, we appreciate that. We had an event in Del Rio and an event in Edinburgh. DPS troopers and Texas National Guardsmen were able to be visited by Governor Abbott and other senior leadership. And we want to thank them for that because those things helped during the holidays for everybody that are deployed here on the border. As you saw from the last slide, our joint operations with the Department of Public Safety continue. We are approaching almost 84,000 apprehensions and referrals to USCBP, along with state trespassing crimes that we do along with the Department of Public Safety. Additionally, we're at close to 6,300 turnbacks as we expand the operation. And as you know, a turnback is keeping the nefarious activity from coming into the state of Texas. So that's a win for us whenever we turn back criminal activity. Temporary infrastructure and barrier is continuing to be constructed. I will verify that we are now doing it in the Rio Grande Valley without getting into specifics. So we have started our temporary infrastructure in the Rio Grande Valley, as well as in the Del Rio sector continues. We're approaching a completion of over 6 miles right now with plenty of other land that's ready for construction. We're continuing training with our law enforcement partners. This training is crucial to what we're doing to deal with the trespassing on private property. The National Guard actually has quite a few Texas certified police officers in its ranks along the border, which acts as a force multiplier for the National Guard. It allows us to train our own troops along with Department of Public Safety, and that experience out there in operations is valuable for what we're doing to protect the private property. And lastly, we continue our mission contingency operation planning as we expand. We're able to surge and move equipment, personnel, and capabilities anywhere along the Texas border, as you saw Operation Steel Curtain from 3 weeks ago. So we continue to do that with our law enforcement partners. We can deploy anywhere in the state of Texas to stop large caravans or any other nefarious activity from crossing in. That's my brief for the past 2 weeks. I think we're going to come over here and take some questions now.
So if you can just just raise your hand, announce your name, and of course your media outlet, and we'll answer any questions you may have. And whoever's ready, we can start.
Lieutenant, so the migrants from Starr County, compared to Kinney County, when you guys detain those human smuggler, what happens to the migrant families or whoever they are, their families or not? Do they get turned over to BP, Border Patrol, or they get apprehended by DPS? What happens in those situations?
We're talking about here in the Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, one of those incidents, the ones in November 19th. Yeah.
Right, so anytime we come across, our troopers come across families, unaccompanied children, we're going to refer those migrants to U.S. Border Patrol. They won't be taken into custody.
Because they didn't enter a private property, what's the difference there, I guess, with Kenny County?
Well, right now, the procedures that we have right now that are taking place is that we are arresting single adults. We're not arresting families. We're not arresting kids. So as of right now, moving forward, the process is any unaccompanied children, any families that we come across, we're referring them to U.S. Border Patrol.
And how exactly does Parks and Wildlife help with apprehensions? How does that look like? How does that work?
So, I mean, I can't get into specifics with them because obviously they're not here to talk on that. What I can tell you is, though, they're a great partner. Just like with U.S. Border Patrol, they do patrol the water with our Tactical Marine Unit, and sometimes they are on certain areas, some locations where they're able to operate on land. So when they cross any type of families or unaccompanied children or single adults, they will turn those over to U.S. Border Patrol or turn them over to us. So it does count as an apprehension for them because they are coming into contact with those illegal immigrants.
And Major Perry, right? Major Perry.
Yes.
And then could you confirm that, I know you said you couldn't provide details, but can you confirm that border barrier being built in Starr County is the one in Rio Grande City with the general land office?
I can't speak on the general land office. I'm just telling you that we've started our temporary infrastructure in the Rio Grande Valley. And we should have more details on that in the coming weeks. Yeah, no problem.
Good.
I wanted to ask you about the operation that is ongoing. We found yesterday we talked to you briefly. I know that there is a lot of traffic there, unfortunately, and there's a great deal of personnel and traffic going on. And can you just talk a little bit about what's going on?
Right. So La Jolla has always been a very active area. From what we've seen, there's always been large groups of families, unaccompanied children that are coming through La Jolla. And of course, the local law enforcement, La Jolla PD, of course, as well as Border Patrol, they're overwhelmed with the constant surge of groups that are coming across. So we're starting to move resources to that area. We've always had resources in there, but now we're moving more resources, more troopers, more of our tactical operators as well in those areas to try to help augment that group, those large groups that are coming across, and our federal partners as well. We have more boats on the water, as well as Texas Parks and Wildlife. They'll also be out there as well with us, helping us, trying to deter any mass groups that are coming across, and as well as Texas National Guard out there. So again, it's always been a very active area, and we're trying to deter that as much as possible, because also not only the groups that we're seeing with families and kids, but we're also seeing a lot of single adults, the runners that we refer to, or gotaways that are passing through those areas as well. A lot of human smugglers that are in that area as well. So we're trying to combat that area as much as possible.
I want to ask you about Del Rio, and the reason being is that yesterday we reported that there were groups of families literally walking on the roads between Piedras Negras and Acuña to make it across the border into Del Rio. I know that there is already that barrier going on in Eagle Pass with the and we did notice that the Mexican police in Acuña officers to prevent folks from coming across at least and then passes in Acuña, but migrants are coming into two farther areas still. Is there an action that you guys are coordinating to prevent that?
Right, so we're always trying to find ways to deploy resources based on whatever activity is taking place. So we can make those real-time decisions based on the activity, based on the intel that we gather as well from U.S. Border Patrol, also from partners in Mexico as well, any potential caravans, large groups that are coming across, and we try to make real-time decisions to move more resources, more assets to those areas. One thing to understand, though, too, is that some of those areas is on federal property. So, obviously we cannot put up any type of barriers, any type of shipping containers, barbed wire in those areas because it is federal property, it's federal land. So we're only able to do that on actual state property or private property. We have access to do that. So that makes it challenging right there. But again, we have plenty of resources that we can move, boats as well as National Guard that we can deploy to those areas and try to help facilitate that and slow down that surge of groups that are coming across.
CBS Press Council, CBS 4, Local 23. With the border fencing in Starr County, that 5 miles, is there any consideration of building some in Hidalgo or Cameron County as well?
Yeah, I can't speak on Cameron and Hidalgo County, but the temporary infrastructure is going in that Starr County area in the RGV.
Yes. Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. So the 1,000, that's starting, the start of the operation since March 4th. From March 4th until November 25th, those pursuits is compiled during those months. So it's 1,000 during that time period. But we have seen an increase not only here in the Rio Grande Valley, but also Del Rio. And one thing about Del Rio that makes it unique is that we're seeing a lot of smugglers or individuals that are coming from larger cities, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, even out of state. And this, as we talked about earlier, we had 2 individuals that were Crips gang members out of Oklahoma. They come down to the Rio Grande Valley, or more specifically to Del Rio, to become human smugglers, because a lot of it's being advertised on social media by the criminal organizations. So that's why we see an uptick in pursuits, but also keep in mind that we have more troopers on the road as well that are stopping cars. So with that being said, more troopers, more vehicles that are being stopped, more human smugglers that are coming to the valley and also to Del Rio, you're going to see an uptick in vehicle pursuits because, again, these individuals, they don't want to be caught. They want to flee from law enforcement. So it does pose a danger to the motoring public because we've shown videos, time after time. We've seen cases where these smugglers, they have no regard for the safety of the motoring public, and even the migrants that they're smuggling with their reckless driving, their excessive speed. The whole purpose for them is they want to get away from law enforcement. That's their primary focus, is to get away and to get those migrants to where they need to get, because obviously it's a commodity to them, and they're here for profit. They want to get the money. So that's why it makes it very dangerous, not only to the people that are smuggling, but to the motoring public. Right. Well, one thing that we work closely again. We work closely with our federal partners, and also we have a great intel team here with DPS that also works closely with Border Patrol intel as well. So we're always keeping track of what's taking place in Mexico, especially in those areas across in Miguel Alemán, across from Roma. Now there has been some incidents, and we've shared that with the public as far as some of these criminal organizations that are brandishing weapons, especially towards National Guard. And we've shared that with the public, and we've never seen that before, but we're starting to see more of this boldness from these criminal organizations. And whatever the reason is, we're still trying to determine that, because again, we've never seen that in previous years, from these criminal organizations, but we're starting to see it more frequently, and we closely monitor that. But again, a lot of it's going to have to do with what's taking place in Mexico with the 2 cartels that are operating that area. That's going to be based on, who's going to be in charge of those smuggling routes for human smuggling and drug smuggling. So it's always going to pose a danger to not only to the individuals there in Mexico, but also to the citizens here in the border communities in the United States. So again, we closely monitor that. Our intel specialists, they're always monitoring what's taking place in Mexico, and they're keeping us up to date. Also, National Guard is right out there on the river, so they see some of these incidents that are taking place. So again, we have a lot of resources in those areas that we can make any type of real-time decisions to combat or prevent any serious activity taking place that would spill over into the U.S.
I could have maybe another question related, but it's happening. Both Mexican and U.S. authorities have confirmed that they have agreed to establish the FPP program, the Migrant Protection Protocol, which will indicate that those that are seeking asylum will be sent back to Mexico. Are you guys concerned that maybe we'll see a rush to the border, at least in the next few hours? Because we don't know whether that's going to be fully implemented today or the next
Right.
couple of days. But we know that at least both governments are agree on putting back on MPP. So my question is, are you guys prepared for a full rush of people in the next few hours to the border?
Well, that's going to be remain to be seen to see how much of an impact that's gonna place on with the current situation right now. But I can tell you, just the month of November, it's always been historic that these have always been the slow, where you see a decreased numbers of illegals coming across. November, December, especially on the holidays. But for some reason this year, it's been a unique year compared to previous years, and we've seen an uptick in illegals that are coming across, especially in the La Jolla area and Del Rio. So that could be a reason that we're seeing that. But again, that remains to be seen how much of an impact that's going to place. But one thing to keep in mind too is that the criminal organizations, the human smugglers, they have profited so much off of this current crisis right now, and they're going to continue to do that. They're going to continue to find ways to move families, children, single adults across to get them into the country. So again, it remains to be seen how much of an impact that Remain in Mexico policy is going to take effect. Yep. I'm sorry?
What criteria is used to determine whether a vehicle is suspect?
A vehicle is a suspect.
Yeah, like you suspect a vehicle of harboring migrants.
Well, there's no way to determine if someone is actually suspected of harboring migrants just based off a vehicle. So our troopers make traffic stops for proper cause, based off interviews with the driver. If they're able to search a vehicle, they get consent from the driver to search a vehicle, then that's how they can determine if there is illegals inside the vehicle that are being concealed. But for most cases, we see most of the drivers don't stop. They evade from law enforcement, and that's when you see those bailouts of the driver and as well as illegal immigrants that are coming out of those vehicles.
And my next question is for Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Can you confirm that DPS arrest training for the guard is taking place at Lot 1 A with B?
It's not arrest training, but we do train with DPS on escalation of force and other law enforcement procedures.
Mayor, I just have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
To follow up on what happened in Starr County, which is really concerning for all of us to know that some men on the other side are brandishing guns to you, and especially to the soldiers on the field. Any precautions you guys have taken to protect the National Guard that are out there?
Yeah, so the Guard is out there in front of law enforcement. We're the eyes and ears. We are armed out there. We're armed for self-defense, and we're prepared to defend ourselves. And of course, we have tactical vehicles that are up armored, so we have that ability to protect our men that way as well. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so how long is Operation Lone Star going to last?
Right now that's indefinite. There's no date when we're gonna. This is gonna, we're gonna conclude this operation. We're gonna keep moving forward, as long as it takes. We're still seeing increased activity that's taking place along the southern border. So, we're gonna keep moving forward. But even, just not working the operation, our troopers that work regular patrol, they're also doing, some type of border work as well. So, it's gonna be a continuous operation. Anyone else? All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. We'll do it individual.